How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast, and I'm here with my boy Jeremy, aka DFS Dudes, and we're here to present you our NFL Week 6 tight end and defensive picks. If you're new to this channel, please make sure to click the subscribe button below. This week, you can watch all of our NFL, NBA, and MLB videos. And if you haven't already, go check out our new site at www.dfscheatsheet.com. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, everything that you need. So go check out the site at www.dfscheatsheet.com. So real quick before we get into these picks, decent week on NFL, made a couple bucks, nothing special. We definitely had all the right plays. We just didn't have them in the same lineup. Overall, the research was very good though. We were definitely on everybody that we should have been on. Right now, we got, we're exactly a week away from NBA, the start of NBA season. We got, that NBA package up right now. $200 get you our FanDuel and DraftKings cash lineup every single night, plus complete access to our optimizer. So go take advantage of our NBA package. NBA is by far our best sport. Trust me. Hey, anybody that has ever played NBA with us has never been disappointed. We make money in NBA, so definitely go check it out. At the site dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, how you doing out there, Jeremy?
What's up, man? Yeah, just to follow that up, NBA launching. You can still play the MLB slates. You got really 4 fantasy sports going on right now. Our website has got content and information on all of them. You still got playoff slates you can play with MLB. You're going to have the launch of NBA. Those are full slates on a daily basis. NFL requires a week of research as it is. And then if you like, if you're feeling kind of freaky, I guess, and you want to dabble in NHL, we've got NHL content that will be up on a daily basis as well in some form of fashion. Make sure if you're not subscribed now, that you do go ahead and subscribe to the website. Hey, even if you want to check the website out for free, there's a trial, right? Get 7 days of it. Do yourself a favor, check it out. If you like it, great. Extend it. If not, hey, you tried it. We do our best to bring you guys as much content as we can on a daily and weekly basis, and it's only going to continue to grow.
Yeah, definitely. So, hey, man, I'm ready. I'm ready to get into this video. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll get it started first. We'll go with the tight end position first. I'm going to start with Ebron for the Colts. I've been on this guy for about 3 straight weeks, and I've played him, and he hasn't been doing bad. Last week, unfortunately, he wasn't on the main slate, so I didn't get a chance to play him. Otherwise, I would have played him again, and he absolutely went bonkers against the Patriots. So ever since Jack Doyle has been out the mix, and he's going to be out again once again this week, Andrew Luck has really been looking for Ebron a lot. He's averaging 12 targets in the past 3 games with 5 touchdowns already on the season. He's one of their main red zone targets right now. Luck, I mean, he's been doing decent this season, but he's not back to the Luck that he used to be. He's not throwing, the ball deep downfield. He's looking for the tight end a lot over the middle, looking for those quick passes. So I really like Ebron in this spot to have another great game. I definitely think this game is going to be a back and forth game with the Jets, and both sides are going to be putting up some points. Ebron's price has definitely went up a little bit. It's 6,500 now. And he was mid 5,000s the past couple weeks, but his production has been there to warrant the price tag. Like I said, 12 targets in the past 3 games, 5 touchdowns on the season. So I definitely think he's a really good play at tight end.
Hey, man, this week is just ugly at the tight end position. Across the board, it's ugly. And I think that this is a week where the tight end position can cost you money if you try to get too cute with it, right? I mean, there's some spots where there's just some obvious guys who were good tight ends. The pricing is kind of clumped together with a lot of these guys, from Greg Olsen, if he plays at 5,900, up to Ebron at 6,500. Ebron probably the safest play of them all as far as maybe his floor goes. Really safe for cash games. I look for him to be really popular this week just because there's not a Zach Ertz or a Kelsey on the slate. Even a Gronkowski I think Gronk has a good week. It's a rough spot for tight end. I think this is the week where if you try to get too cute with the position, it can end up costing you money.
Yeah, definitely. No, so like I said, I mean, I'm with you. I think Ebron definitely gives us a solid floor for our cash games.
I think of the two guys that are priced at 6,500 and 6,400, I think that Jared Cook may go a little bit underappreciated this week because the Raiders are not really a good football team right now. They're really struggling on both sides of the ball. Their defense is not a good defense. We knew that coming into the season, but their offense has looked really, really good at times. Seattle, they're definitely down the secondary, as we noted last week with the loss of Earl Thomas. And the thing I like about Jared Cook in this particular offense, I loved Cooper Kupp last week because of where he lines up. And Cooper Kupp was having a monster game until he left the game. I think Cooper Kupp ended up with 18 or 19 points, and he had to leave the game early. Didn't play any of that fourth quarter, or really for the I believe he went out in the beginning of the third quarter, and had really was going to have a monster game. The thing I like about Cook is in Gruden's offense, the tight end kind of lines up all over the place. He'll line up outside as a split, the X position. He'll line up with his hand in the dirt at a traditional tight end position. They'll put him in the slot. Really trying to get him over the middle of the field. So I like Cook this week. Again, the options are very limited, but at $6,400, the guy's averaging about 8 targets per week. He's got 41 targets through 5 games, 30 receptions, 2 touchdowns, almost 400 yards receiving. So the price is justified. And then in a week like this where you got a guy who's averaging 8 targets in that offense, it's kind of a no-brainer for me as a really safe spot.
Yeah, no, I definitely like Jared Cook. I talked about him last week as one of my tight end plays, and it didn't necessarily pan out last week against the Chargers. I think Jared Cook is a really good play for me. $100 less than Ebron. I think Ebron's a little bit more cash game safe, but I definitely think that Jared Cook has maybe even a little bit more upside than Ebron. I mean, Jared Cook has been hit or miss on this season. He has 3 games of 4 fantasy points, 6 fantasy points, 7 fantasy points. But then he has 2 monster games of 27 and 23. So he's just been a little bit more volatile than Ebron. But I definitely like the play. I definitely think it's a really good spot. I mean, the way that Jared Cook is looking right now, he has a good week, he has a bad week, a good week, a bad week. If that trend is continuing, then this week he's going to have a really good week against that Seattle defense. So yeah, I definitely like to play a Jared Cook. It's ugly. Like you said, tight end is super ugly this week. So a guy that I'm going to go with next is going to be David Njoku for Cleveland. The guy's 5,500, very fair price tag going against the Chargers. The Chargers defense isn't good. They're going to allow points. They're going to allow Browns to put points on the board. Njoku's coming off the most targets that he's seen all season. 11 targets. He caught 6 of them for 69 yards. It wasn't nothing special, but, it was a solid outing. And if he would give me, something close to that this week, I would definitely take that and move on. He's got at least 7 targets in 4 of the 5 games this season. No Gordon anymore right there. So I feel it opened up a couple extra targets for Njoku. So I like him at a 5,500 price tag in a shootout against the Chargers.
Njoku is the guy who's been on my radar for a while. He's really been on my radar since week 1. I just haven't really probably gotten as much exposure to him as possible because I haven't liked the spot he's in. I don't mind Njoku this week, and I don't mind him really as a GPP play more than a cash game play for the simple fact that I feel like Cleveland's in the same spot that the Raiders were in last week, going into against a defense that looked like it was a really juicy matchup, and it just didn't come to fruition. I do agree with you though. On one side, that San Diego is not a very good defense. I think Cleveland's offense is quite a bit better than Oakland's as far as consistency goes and with the ability to move the field. The one thing that worries me is Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson seems to be a guy who's getting a lot of red zone love, or at least between the 40 love. Njoku's going to be a really good tight end in this league. He's going to be a guy whose price goes up as the season goes on, and he's definitely a guy that Baker Mayfield likes. So I like him for tournaments. I think that might be something that we should just preface with, right? This is definitely a GPP week for tight ends, right? And what I kind of said in the beginning was I think you can get too cute, and tight end position could be a position that loses you money. I think Njoku is like at the top of that GPP play. Where he's not quite cash game safe, maybe a little too volatile for cash games, but he's really, really. And the thing that I think also needs to be noted on that is this is a week where when I say cost you money, a guy like Eric Ebron and a guy like Jared Cook, they're the top two price guys. They're the most popular tight ends on this particular slate. So their ownership is going to go up. If they happen to dud, it's not going to cost you anything, especially if you look at a guy like Ebron and Cash Games, who will, I almost guarantee, will be over 50% owned, right? Njoku and Cash is going to be quite a bit under Ebron. So I like him for tournaments. I'm not sure how much I like him in Cash. I think that you just plug Eric Ebron in Cash Games and move on this week.
Right. I like it. I definitely like it. So who you got for us to finish us off at tight end?
So I'm going to go all the way down, and this is kind of – it feels like a little bit of a pump play because of how ugly the position is. But when you take a look at the matchup overall, Cincinnati Bengals are giving up the second most points to tight ends. Vance McDonald has had some really nice games this year. He's only $4,600. So for tournaments – if you're looking, like I said, this is a week where I think if you get too cute with things, it could cost you. And what you really need to do for tournaments is get 2x to 3x out of the position. So at 4,600, we're really looking for him to get 8 points, 8.5, 9 points. If he gets 10 or 12 points and a touchdown, it's a really big week for that position. He's shown the ability to do that, averaging about 5 targets per game. Cincinnati, again, not very good with that cover 2 scheme they play. They do leave the middle of the field open. I think that this is a week now where they have all of their Cincinnati's firing on all cylinders. They've got Juju and Antonio Brown stretching out the field. Connor has shown he's really good out of the backfield. I think that leaves a position in the middle of the field for Vance McDonald to be there as a check down guy this week and kind of move those chains. Like I said, I think it's more of a pump play at tight end this week, but it's a safe pump play. Vance McDonald at 4,600.
Yeah, no, I like the play. We were on him last week, and he busted last week. And so you know what that means. When everybody was on somebody last week and they busted, you know what's going to happen. He's going to be super low owned, and nobody's going to go back to the well. Nobody's going to play the guy. And he's been solid. He's had a solid, season so far. He's human, just like we're human. He had a bad game. I mean, it is what it is. There was a couple different factors. You can't blame it all on him. But I'm going to look at the overall body of work on the season. And like you said, I definitely think he's a really good play. 4,600. It's tough right now. Tight end is tough this week. So for a punt play, I definitely could see myself going right well.
There's 2 guys in that range that I like a whole bunch this week if I'm going to punt it. And I'll probably have maybe like between 15 and 25% ownership. Split between these 2 guys in tournaments this week. The other guy is Cameron Brate, and he's at 4,500. I say this all the time. One thing that I love to do is build a lineup with one guy and then just build an identical lineup and switch those 2 guys out. And then you're in a situation of whichever guy has the better week, you've got the better lineup with. Brate does have 10 points in each of his last 2 games. He has a touchdown in each of his last 2 games. I do like Brate as well this week. He does have, from a fantasy points against standpoint, the Buccaneers are the worst against the tight end position. So you're kind of on the flip side of that, right? Where I think, Hooper had a good week last week. People may look to that particular stat and see that, hey, Hooper had a good week. I think you even talked about it before Hooper came through last week. But I think Cameron Brate and I like Vance McDonald kind of in that same spot. You can just build one lineup and then switch it out and build a second lineup. I think Brate's another guy who has a pretty solid floor for his price. Really, it's about 1 catch per $1,000 or 1 target per $1,000, however you want to look at that, as far as a value standpoint goes. So it's 2 guys that I like. Other than that, man, I think we've listed the guys at the top that makes it really simple. I think that this is an ugly week at tight end, and don't get too cute with it.
Right. So let's move over to this defensive picks real quick, and we'll get out of here. I'll start it off. I mean, I'm gonna go right back to the well. All season I've been taking defenses against the Cardinals. I've been taking defenses against the Bills. I mean, they're the bottom 2 ranked offenses in the league. So it only makes sense to take defenses against them. So this week we got Vikings. I know they haven't been the same defense that we thought they were going to be this year. We thought they were going to be a top 5 defense, and they've been struggling a little bit. But hey, they get it. They get a matchup this week going against the Arizona Cardinals, the 32nd ranked offense in the league. I think this is a great spot for the Vikings to really flex their muscles and show us, hey, we are still, top 5 defense in the league, and we're gonna show you by shutting out the Cardinals. And so I'm really high on the Vikings this week. I think they're gonna be probably my top overall defense. Early look into the week. That's kind of what I'm looking at. What do you think about the Vikings against the Cardinals this week?
I don't know. I don't know. There's a couple of things for me with Minnesota, right? I'll give you 3. Number 1, it looks so juicy on paper. Number 2, I think they're overpriced at $4,600 for who they've been. So far this season, Minnesota is a 21st in overall defense and total defense. So it's not like they are an elite defense going against the worst offense in football. Number 3, you got Josh Rosen, who's kind of been injected into that lineup now. Young quarterback, gets guys excited. The next thing I would list is Trey Waynes. He didn't play Sunday with a concussion. We won't have an injury report this week until Wednesday to see where he's at, if he's in fact in protocol and began doing things. So we don't know the degree of that concussion. Number 4, I think I'm on 6, Everson Griffin. He's not going to play again this week. That's a huge void in that defensive line. So I'm not sure. On paper, I get it. I think that they'll be somewhat popular because I think that a lot of people will look to do the same thing. I think Arizona's not very good. I actually early on in the week right now, from a tournament standpoint, I like some Arizona pieces this week because of the fact I think they'll be low owned, because of the fact they're going against Minnesota, and it is a home game for that Minnesota defense. But Minnesota, here's the last thing I'll mention with Minnesota. They're 27th in the league in yards per play. They're giving up 6.2 yards per play. It makes it really difficult to get off the field when you're giving up 6.2 yards per play. That's a first down every 2 plays, basically. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I probably have a better answer for you as the week goes on here and we figure out some more things. It could pop up where Everson Griffin comes back. It could pop up, where Trey Waynes is playing. And then I may like them a little bit more. I do get that they are 32nd offense. I'm just not sure at this point how much I like Minnesota or how much I trust Minnesota.
Right. All right. Who you got for us?
So I'm going to go with this is an interesting week, right? So Minnesota would be kind of that 5th team for me in this scenario. And the scenario is you have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd teams in overall defense going against the 30th, 28th, and 29th offenses in the league. And then if you add Minnesota and Houston, you got 2 teams that are in that mid-range defense, 21st for Minnesota, 14th for Houston. They're going against the 32nd and 31st overall offenses. So it's a unique week where you've got some really good defenses going against some really bad offenses. The team that sticks out the most to me is Baltimore at 4,000. That's the first team I'm going to go with. They're the cheapest of that group of teams. Baltimore has shown week in and week out that this is an elite defense. All you have to do is take a look at the statistics, right? Baltimore 3rd in total defense, only trailing Jacksonville and Chicago. 4,000. They lose last week on a field goal, but that wasn't like they lost 28-27. They lost 12-9, on the road in Cleveland. I don't think Tennessee's very good. Their offense is 29th in the league. Their offense struggled last week. They lost to Buffalo 13-12. Their offense didn't put up very many points. I think Baltimore absolutely has its way with this Tennessee offense this week. So Baltimore at 4,000, I think it's a really good play. I think they're the best value of the elite defenses playing this week.
Yeah, no, great value play, solid defense. We've seen them shut down Pittsburgh pretty much, earlier in the season. I like Baltimore. I think it's a really good call. So I'm going to go with my last defense is going to be the Texans going against the Bills. Bills, they're bad. They're bad. They just traded. They traded LaShawn McCoy. Did you see that?
Hey man, I don't know if our viewers know, but I'm a high school football coach. So Saturday through Monday, I watch so much film of my own stuff. I kind of don't get to research till Tuesday until we start this first video. So I haven't even looked at news yet.
For some reason, I thought I'd seen that. I'm gonna have to look into that more. But either way, The Bills aren't a very good team at all. Texans, their defense actually isn't too bad. They're middle of the pack. They have a couple really good guys that could definitely create trouble for the quarterback. So, yeah, I definitely like the Texans. I think that they're going to be my second defense going against the Bills.
So I'm just looking at rumors. I guess Philadelphia has called Buffalo to try and get LaShawn McCoy back.
I see something like that
29 minutes ago. So, maybe something's happened since then. I'll just piggyback off this. As far as rankings right now for defense for me, I have Houston number 1 simply because they're playing at home. I think of this elite level of defenses so far this season. They're 14th in total defense. You saw what they did at home against Dallas, who's not a great offense, but they're certainly better than Buffalo is. Dallas has, as anemic as Dallas's offense is, and as, you're starting to talk about Swain and some of these guys that you've never heard of before as their quote-unquote weapons, they're still better than what Buffalo brings to the table. I like J.J. Watt, and Jadeveon Clowney getting after the passer. I think that when you start looking at offensive line rankings versus defensive line rankings, this is an elite matchup for that defensive line. And, anytime that you've got a team who's going to be down, sometimes it's a good opportunity to target that offense because they're going to be throwing the ball and trying to come, from behind. In this particular situation, I think you take a look at that Houston defensive line and you get an opportunity where they're going to be up. Buffalo's going to have to throw the ball, and that defensive line gets to pin their ears back and rush the passer. So I think it's a great spot to get sacks. I have them right now as my number 1 overall defense.
Yeah, definitely. So round it off. Who you got for us to finish this off?
Kind of a toss-up for me. I got 3 teams that I really like. Last week I listed Carolina. I thought they were an absolute great buy. They upgraded their safety position. I thought that they were in a really good spot. So it's really a toss-up for me. I think that the one I'm going to go with is going to be the other road team that I think is in a good spot. I think Jacksonville is just too much for Dallas. Jacksonville is number 1 in total defense. It doesn't feel like I'm paying up because I'm not paying above $5,000 for this. I definitely think for tournaments there's some other spots to really look at and attack. One of them would be Carolina again. But I just can't get over the fact that I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. You're a Dallas Cowboy fan. The weapons Dallas has are not very good. I mean, when you're trying to move the ball, inside the red zone, and you've got to use Tavon Austin and run him on a jet sweep motion, fake the jet sweep, and then run a shovel pass to Zeke underneath to try to get movement because everybody knows who you're giving the ball to in the first place. I just don't see that front 7. And then, Jalen Ramsey, he's going to take half the field away from you. So if you got a stacked box and Jalen Ramsey taking half the field or a quarter of the field away at minimum, where do they go with the ball? I think it's a very safe play. I think you don't have to be cute with it. It's the number 1 defense going against a 28th offense. Yes, they're on the road, but they're on a faster surface. I love anytime you get athletes on a faster surface. I think that kind of cancels out the home field advantage. I just think Jacksonville at 4,700 feels like I'm not paying up very much to get the number 1 overall defense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like the Jacksonville play. I mean, as a Cowboys fan, it's tough to say, but our offense is struggling right now. We have no receivers. I was just watching ESPN earlier. They were talking about how a big problem with us is we have Cole Beasley as our number 1 receiver. Cole Beasley on any other team is a 3rd receiver. You know what I mean? Not even a 2nd receiver. We have him as our 1st receiver. That's our biggest problem. We need a weapon on the outside to open it up for Elliott. Right now, we don't have that. Jacksonville, great defense. I agree with you. I definitely think that they're one of the top defenses on the week. Our Cowboys has shown we're not going to put up a ton of points. We're going to play, pretty much every game we're going to be in is going to be a ground and pound, play good defense, and try to win, 13-10 or whatnot. This week it didn't work out against Texans. But that's our plan. That's how we're trying to win games. And so I definitely think Jacksonville is a really good defensive play this week. And hey, that's all I got for defense and tight ends.
We got some questions. The first question: best D for GPPs. I think I kind of touched on that. I think you've got 2 of them. I really think Baltimore may be the best overall defense for a GPP situation. Just for the simple fact that of those top 5 to 6 defenses that are going this week, Carolina 1 is trending up. And Carolina added, like I said, they added to the safety position and upgraded that in the bye week. That that helped them out last week. They only gave up really the one big play last week to ODB, but Baltimore is a legit defense. Baltimore is that's a championship caliber defense. They need to get, they've had 3 games with 3+ sacks, right? They've had at least a turnover in every game except for the Cincinnati game. And they got railed, and that's kind of the one-off, if you will, in the equation. So for me, as far as tournaments go and ownership, I think at $4,000, Carolina is off the board when you kind of open up FanDuel. You look at the obvious plays with Jacksonville. You see Houston playing Buffalo. You see Minnesota playing Arizona. I think those are where teams spend up. So I would list the best play being probably Baltimore, Carolina, and then I think Chicago is a really good play for tournaments as well.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I like all those defense for sure. I really don't have too many more defenses I was looking at outside of what we talked about today.
I think the other question we have seems to be some love with Cameron Brate. I think I mentioned Cameron Brate earlier in the video. Hopefully that answers your question about Cameron Brate. And then somebody wants to know about the Seahawks at 3,500. I'm staying away from that, and I'll give you a couple of reasons. This is the first London game. It's in a different time slot. I know they're trying to – this is a 6 p.m. start in London, so it's a 1 p.m. start on the East Coast. This is 2 West Coast teams that are – this is going to be a 10 a.m. game for them basically. So it's like an East Coast game already. West Coast teams kind of struggle going to the East Coast. Everybody struggled going over to London. I think that the Seattle-Oakland game in London could have more points than it could have defense, so I'm going to stay away from that. There's better picks to spend $400 more and look at Carolina, who's a legit defense right now.
Yeah, I'm not touching Seattle's defense. I think they're absolutely horrible for sure. So
that's all we got, man.
All right, man. Well, tonight we're going to be back with our wide receiver picks for the week. We'll try to get you some extra stuff this week as well. Got NBA next Tuesday. Take advantage of that package on our website, dfscheatsheet.com. Hey, we're going to make tons of money in NBA. I love NBA. Honestly, it's my favorite sport. Hands down. Love it. Join the money team. Jump in our chat room with us. Have some daily fun. Hey, that's all I got for you guys, all right? Hey, peace out.